A warm welcome back to the Information Security Stack, together with me, Daniel Gustafsson, and Kim Hindart.
Hubba.
Kim, today you had a thought, and you're going to explain to the listeners about your thought regarding tax money paid to external companies abroad.
Yeah. If we talk about the public organizations, government agencies, municipalities, these big organizations, regions, at least in Sweden, they have a lot of money. They get a lot of taxpayer money. So yeah, it's not that strange. And they do major purchases. And IT is a big part of that, of course. So when we talk about just Sweden, we're talking several hundred millions euro per year on an annual basis. And I bet that this is probably the same in a lot of European companies as well. So in European nations as well. So the IT purchases is high, really high. And it was pretty funny because we were actually at a conference where they complained a lot about the innovation of IT software in Europe, since 95% of all IT purchases went to United States from Europe. And they complained a lot, there's very little European companies that have anything to offer. And they say, yeah, but to start with, don't buy everything from the United States then. If we want to make Europe more competitive, start buying in-house products and services.
Yeah, from European providers initially. Yeah,
from
exactly.
European providers instead. But so this is the big question. Are there European providers? And I say, yes, there are actually European providers. Do we consider them when we talk about cloud? No, of course not. Cloud is only 3 major hyperscalers in the United States. That's in our mindset. Pretty much in Europe as well. So, no disregard that the biggest cloud provider in the entire world is Alibaba in China.
Yeah, for sure.
And that we totally ignore in Europe as well.
We never purchase anything from China. Let's be clear about that, right?
Yeah, so but we talk about the big 3 hyperscalers when we talk about cloud. That's that I bet. I don't have any scientific data for that, but I can bet that that's a pretty common occurrence, at least.
I mean, just look at the market share, and that tells you everything you need to know, right? So in Europe right now, I think it's like 95-6%, something like that, of the total the total acquisitions of cloud services are American, essentially.
Yes.
One way or another, meaning we purchase American services in Europe. And they have essentially 96% of the European market as we stand.
And then the question arises, if we are a tax-funded organization, is it sensible that we send the taxpayers' money only to the big hyperscalers? Could we purchase stuff locally instead? Could we purchase domestic stuff instead?
Well, we could. One thing, first and foremost, there needs to be European providers that are a valid option. We need to step up as European providers, because we can't deny the fact that, because everyone is thinking, well, now you're talking out of your own interest right now because you're working for a European provider, and of course we are. So what is the first thing we need to do then? Well, we need to be able to produce services that is good enough, and that is actually a valid option to purchase and use. Otherwise we have no argument if we can't produce a service that is relevant to use. But let's say that we do have that. Do European countries, because now we're talking, to your point, mostly about the government agencies, meaning organizations that acquire services with taxpayer money, essentially, right? And are they even considering the European options? That's a relevant question.
Yeah.
Or to your point, how we just gone mentally stale and we only know about the big three, so that's the only thing we care about, or at least we don't even try to investigate what options are out there.
If we talk about the political interest, if you were to ask a common taxpayer in any nation, would you prefer to see your government tax money go to the big hyperscalers or support a domestic supplier? Disregard its IT or anything else. Would you prefer to see a domestic supplier? And I know this can be different from different countries, but it can be a bit sensitive to say, oh, no, we shouldn't support domestic suppliers. That's bad. We should be open to everyone. Except China, but
because that's a hard no. Yeah, exactly.
But no, so imagine this: a big government agency in Germany says we are only going to drive Fords. We don't even consider Volkswagen, Mercedes. We are only going to drive Fords because we have defined that Ford is the only one that makes cars.
Yes.
That are useful. We cannot even imagine considering learning another car. It's Ford, that's it, and nothing else. I think they would be debated publicly a bit. I think the politicians that rule that agency would say, wait a bit, does this really make sense? Why? We have a lot of in-house domestic manufacturing. Why not consider at least them? And I don't say you should exclude the hyperscalers. No,
of course not.
It's up to the service.
No, of course not.
But you should not monopolize them either and exclude everything else. That's the part. So, yeah. So anyway, let's say I can only buy Ford and nothing else. Yeah, because we will never have totally equivalent services. If a user is used to a particular type of service, the other services will not look and feel the same. You will have to learn something new. And that can be a really, really big obstacle for a lot of, at least in the IT industry, to get the users to be comfortable with something new, to get them to change. Change is hard.
Very. Ever tried to stop smoking or something like that? If you're listening to this and you've gone through that process or gone through any other type of addiction, getting rid of that is really, really, really hard.
And then we have to motivate them. So my question is supporting domestic industries a motivator for you? Would you consider making an effort if it meant sending less of taxpayer money abroad? If I'm an employee in a public service organization, because I believe that they usually don't get this type of question. They only get this question, what do you think of this? And if it's not exactly as what they used to, they say, bad, don't like it. I want things to be exactly as they have always been.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of us humans.
Yeah. So what we're trying to get at here in this conversation is that I think personally you should be able to choose from whichever service you feel like and want to use, bar none. There should be an option, an open option. It's just that we have ended up in a situation where we don't even look at other options than the one we are used to. And currently the one we are used to are predominantly American hyperscalers. But the funny thing is, and I mean, this if you look at, okay, so if you take the example of an Office suite, for instance, yeah, all right, Microsoft is king on the Office suite. I can't argue that, because I use it myself and it's wonderful. And we went through the process of trying to change internally in our company to an open source option of an Office suite. And the buttons are not in the same place, and it doesn't look the same, and it kind of doesn't smell the same and feel the same. And it's hard. And there was some argument about that, and that was tough. But if the situation are that we are just using things because we are used to it, then we end up in a situation we never ever, okay, I eat strawberries for the rest of my life. I will never ever try a blueberry because, you know what? No, I only eat strawberries, right? But if you take but that's Microsoft and the Office suite. That's been around for what now? 30 years? 35? It's a long time now. I mean, we're old now, so easily I can remember that back in the days when I was a kid, right? So, but if you take a more recent event, like for instance Amazon AWS, that wasn't around until 2009, and it wasn't really relevant until like 2012, 13, something like that, when people started to use it. But we are in the same mindset there, that that's the only thing we can use, because that's the first thing we tested and used. And then we got accustomed to that. And we don't even challenge the opinion that there might be European options, for instance. And then to your point, when we acquire services within municipalities, government organizations, and so on and so forth, when it's taxpayer money that we pay with, we actually didn't earn anything here. We just took the taxpayers' money because that's how the system works. And then we send that overseas by the billions every year. If we combine EU, it's billions of euros every year.
It's a lot of billions.
It's a lot of billions of euros every year that goes overseas. And I'm not targeting any of the American hyperscalers. God bless them for making a lot of money, because that's awesome. I would like to do the same. But it's that we don't even question, if we don't even try the waters if there's anything out there that potentially could be an option to it. So how do we go about this? Do we need to start to force every government agency to first try European options, or what are your opinion about that?
I think this should be a lobbying perspective. We should put this out there as a good, just simple voting question. Do you prefer to see this huge amount of billions of taxpayer money go overseas or support domestic industry?
Mm-hmm.
And just put that question out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if the question is, I really don't care a bit, and that answer, yeah, sure, go ahead, just do it. I would bet that it would be a bit the same as with cars.
Mm-hmm.
If our agency said, we are used to Ford, and Ford is the only one we can ever drive, and we will not even consider another brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then I think that could be questioned.
But isn't this what Mr. Trump or President Trump did in his 4 years? America first. And he took a lot of heat for that.
Exactly. But if you look at the government agencies in the United States, they don't buy that many European stuff, to be honest.
No.
And if you look at all the cars that the government agencies procure, you don't see a lot of Mercedes there. I mean,
no.
You don't see a lot of Toyota there.
No.
So, yeah. So when it's a matter of buying stuff, then they usually buy domestic. On the other hand, they have a lot of Russian visitors in their systems, but that's not.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah. No, but anyway, so that's something. So when we're talking about other products, then it's pretty obvious that you at least consider the domestic alternatives. Are they the same? No, of course not. They're still cars, and can still fill some functionality. But yes, the interior of a Ford will be different from the interior of Mercedes, for sure. The instrument panel will for sure not look the same. So that's the question, do we even consider it? And that's a big question. And I think it's something that needs to do in parallel. We can always complain there's no suppliers in Europe. But if there's no one interested in buying stuff from the European suppliers, then there will be no suppliers either.
That's the fact of that. If we don't actually buy anything from European options, they won't exist. The few that do exist will be, exterminated.
Yeah.
Gone.
And if we talk about then the next thing, won't this be crazy more expensive? And then I can say,
right. Well, that's an argument.
Yes, exactly. And that's when I say it's up to the suppliers to be competitive.
Right.
For sure.
Because if we put that into perspective, so we know that a lot of the international companies use like offshoring and cheap labor to a certain extent to keep the prices down. If we were to keep everything in Europe and we have a higher salary rate, for instance, and higher cost of production, wouldn't the prices go up then? Wouldn't this? So in Sweden, for instance, it's like it's what, 600 million euros, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh no, euros, Swedish. Yeah, it's Europe.
Yeah.
6 billion Swedish kroners each year.
Yeah.
So let's say that we produce everything, or we buy everything from Sweden, then wouldn't the price go up?
At least what we can see is that we can have a competitive pricings anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's a matter of question, but yeah, we can for sure have a competitive pricing, and that's very interesting, especially when you're talking to something like AWS, who went out and pronounced that 2040 we would be carbon neutral. Oh, yoo-hoo, 2040. You're the richest company, by far the richest company in the world. Why not 2020? Why not right now? If the CEO only took half his annual bonus, he could pay off and climate compensate so they would be carbon neutral totally. His entire company, if he only took half his bonus. Yeah. It's a matter of values as well, I say. But 2040, then we will be carbon neutral.
It's 20 years from now.
No,
you could be that today.
Yeah,
for sure.
Especially with the amount of money they're earning.
Yeah,
they could be a role model and even be carbon positive.
Exactly. They could set the stage for everyone else to follow.
To do this. But yeah, no. So don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining that people earn a lot of money. If they manage to do that, for sure they deserve it.
Awesome.
It's a matter of the company and their value when they pay this out. This money comes from somewhere, and it's the customers who pay them. And then it's a matter of question. Do we choose to pay our money to someone who is a negative impact for the climate today, or do we choose to pay the domestic suppliers that are carbon neutral today? Have you heard? Right now. Also a big matter of question. So yeah.
So where do you want our taxpayers to go? Taxpayers' money to go, essentially, right?
So that's why I say it's not a matter of the cheapest price at all, because then we just buy Chinese cloud.
Yeah,
and have the by far cheapest price.
For sure.
We have some standards as well. Yeah, let's just look at cars. It's a good comparison. Imagine if we say we want to buy cars, but strip away any type of security and any type of climate
controls,
controls, or So we don't care about carbon emissions. We don't care about security or safety. Just a car that runs. Don't care if it's illegal. Just give us a car. Yeah, that would for sure be cheaper than buying a car. But it wouldn't be a fair competitive things.
No.
Fair competition. And guess what? EU, isn't that big stuff what you're supposed to do?
Sort of what they're there for,
fair
isn't it?
competition.
Yeah,
I thought so. If I imagine back something. But then it's of course also up to the European suppliers to step up and have a competitive offering, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if they're never considered, guess what? We will never have a European market as well.
No, exactly. So. All right, so open question to everyone who's listening to this, and feel free to have an opinion. Where do you think the taxpayer money should go? What is your opinion about it? How should we treat that in the future? And do we even consider other options before we purchase today? Or do we just go with what we are used to? So if you have anything you want to add to that, you can do that. citynetwork.eu/podcast. And you can connect with us. You can ask questions and so on and so forth. And one of our listeners actually did regarding a different topic, regarding Kim's little quest, which we posted the other week. Regarding your strive to have a virtual meeting that felt more like in person than just sitting in front of a web camera. So we had a listener called Jan who sent in two options, one app and one tool. So, Kim, what were they about? Thank you very much,
Jan.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's always great to get listener feedback, so that's excellent. He presented a really nice application that's called Around. It helps with removing backgrounds in video calls. So what it does is it makes a circle cutout of just your face and then removes the rest of the background. And I totally agree that a lot of background noise is happening that's distracting us when we have video calls, when we're talking to people. So that's a good thing. So I like that one, but it doesn't really help me with the eye contact thing that I was looking for a bit. And then he presented a teleprompter solution. And actually, that's something we are experimenting with right now. You have some packages I've sent you.
I do. Right next to me, I have two beautiful packages, which I'm going to unpack later on and see if I can set it up.
And I have actually done a teleprompter setup as well at home. So I'm testing it out right now a bit by looking into the camera instead. This is not a convenient solution. This is a pretty bulky solution, which is absolutely not mobile. If you imagine the old times when you didn't have flat screens, when monitors took up a major part of your desk, when you move into the teleprompter, we're back a bit to that. But it actually allows me to see the screen while looking into the camera. I think, of course, if we want to do this on a larger scale, this can be refined a lot. But it's actually an interesting solution. Why put cameras on top of the screen? Why not have cameras in the middle of the screen? The technology is out there today. And then we talked a bit, and people presented me with teams that will alter where you look with AI, so they will remodify. And no, I don't see that as well. I don't want the AI to alter my image.
You're so against everything new in technology, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got some mails when we put out this question. I got a mail that said, yes, you're just old.
Confirmation, you're just old.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, and fair enough, you are.
Yeah. So I'm willing to accept that as well. But
But anyways, we're gonna set up the teleprompter solution on both ends here and see if we like that. So thanks so much for your input, Jan. We greatly appreciate it. And then if you have anything else you want to add to this, if you're listening to this right now, feel free to post those suggestions on the webpage earlier mentioned. So with that, Kim,
yes,
that sums up today, doesn't it?
Yep.
Anything else you want to add?
No,
we're good.
I think so.
Have an awesome week, everyone. If you're listening to this, wherever you are, we will be back in a week. Take care.